In 2004, I was an 8th grader. My twin sister and I were both 14. We lived on the 4th floor of an old red brick work unit block in Shapingba, Chongqing. Its stairwell always smelled of food. Our 2-bedroom home had a small living room with a dark brown leather sofa, cracked arms exposing yellow foam, and a 1990s wood-grain TV cabinet. VCD player left, Dad's old tapes right. We're fraternal twins, different looking but clearly sisters. At home we were Dashuang, older twin, and Xiaoshuang, younger twin. Inseparable, we went to school and came home together, then shared our only computer on weekends, a cream Lenovo desktop in our parents' bedroom, its fan whirring forever at startup. A thin wall separated our room. It was an ordinary weekend. Through half-drawn curtains, sun struck the folded quilt in a slanting rectangle. Pillows lined the wall. Xiao Shuang played Chinese paladin as Jay Cho's Common Jasmine Orange blared, repeating the line about sparrows chattering on a power line. I waved a toy before Afu, the orange stray Dad found downstairs. Fat as a ball, he dozed on my lap, tail brushing my shin. Sun warmed my feet. Drowsy, thinking nothing, I felt a peace I never knew again. In the kitchen, the old hood roared over chopping and oil's hiss. Scallion, ginger, and garlic mingled with the song. Everything was normal. Xiao Shuang turned the loud music down. Only the pixel figure's pattering footsteps and an occasional clack of the old mechanical keyboard remained. Movement caught my peripheral vision. I usually ignored that. For some reason, I turned. Through the doorway, I saw Dad lean over the TV cabinet, setting down perhaps the remote or his Hongtashan cigarettes. After work, he routinely emptied his pockets there. Remote, lighter, keys, sometimes clinking coins. Nothing seemed wrong. He turned toward our room. Just over 1.7 meters tall, beer-bellied and slightly stooped, he crossed the beige tiles in 5 or 6 steps, his grey slippers slapping softly. Without looking back, he said, "Dashuang, come here. I need to tell you something." The voice had Dad's timbre, pitch, light Chongqing accent, even his drawn-out last word. "Coming." I rose, tipped Afu off my lap despite his protest, slipped on my slippers and followed. Only 2 or 3 seconds passed, 3 or 4 steps. We should have reached our door together, him still ahead to kick it open. Yet at the end of the 3 or 4 step hall, I froze. The hood and game continued. I heard only my heart. The room was empty. The tiny room was fully visible, a metal bunk bed on the left, winter quilts and books above, unfinished homework on the window side desk, a dark brown 3-door wardrobe with chipped iron handles. Nowhere to hide. I absurdly thought Dad was joking, though he never did, and called even April Fool's Day pointless. I stepped in. Under the bed, 2 dusty shoeboxes, the wardrobe, bulky down jackets. Behind the door, nothing. Something inside me dropped with a clang, like an elevator plunging through my stomach. I backed into the dim hall. Amid the hood's roar, even the floor felt unstable. Then guess what happened? The kitchen opened, both parents emerged. Dad carried a plate of cut potato strips in his right hand and his cleaver in his left, his wet apron flecked with scallion. Mom held a half-peeled potato, peel curling from her peeler. With one stove and sink, the kitchen barely allowed turning. I'd watched them there nearly an hour. It had no other door. I blurted, "Dad, weren't you in the living room? You called me into our room to talk." He set down the potatoes and frowned in confusion, not anger. "What are you talking about? I've been with your mom in the kitchen. I never put down this cleaver." Mom looked up. "What living room?" He was helping me peel potatoes. He only stepped out to dump some water and came straight back. Who went into the living room? I went cold, literally. In June, with Chongqing above 30 degrees Celsius, gooseflesh covered my arms, every hair rose, and my heart hammered as if fists struck my ribs. I hurried back silently. Xiao Shuang sat rigid at the computer, hands hanging. the game's paused hero frozen before a cave. Usually fairer than me, she was bluish-white, lips bloodless. "Sis," she trembled before I spoke. "I heard it too. Dad called you from the living room." Eyes wide, she swallowed. I looked. I saw Dad walking toward our room. She saw the same person, stride and direction. 2 pairs of eyes and ears couldn't make the same mistake. Her hand felt refrigerator cold. Then we rushed out and recounted everything. Dad at the cabinet, his call, my pursuit, the empty room. We omitted nothing. Dad first looked doubtful, almost amused. Mom glanced up and kept peeling. Then their smiles vanished at our faces. Fear forced tears into Xiaoshuang's eyes, while I shook from shoulders to fingertips. Nobody could fake that. Dad set down the cleaver. The locked, bolted door and rigid window bars offered no entry. Outside the 4th floor, not even Spider-Man had a foothold. He checked our wardrobe, bed, and curtains, opened the shower curtain, lit the narrow gap behind the washer, searched bathroom, kitchen, balcony, every hiding place. Mom helped, muttering, "What's happening? What's happening?" They found nothing, not even a stray hair. Dad smoked silently in the living room. Normally, he smoked at most half a pack daily. In 2 hours, he nearly finished one, piling the ashtray into a hill. Intensely rational, he had never believed in ghosts, yet couldn't explain someone entering a locked home, exactly matching him, speaking, walking, then vanishing. Mom fetched a bowl of uncooked white rice and scattered it on the living room tiles and at each bedroom, bathroom, and kitchen doorway. The grains rustled like rain. I never asked where she learned it, but felt safer. The rice seemed a line whatever was there couldn't cross. That night, Xiaoshuang feared the upper bunk, so we made the lower one and squeezed together. Thin blanket to our chins, fluorescent light on. It cast the old ceiling lamp's still shadow like a silent witness. We lay quiet while downstairs footsteps echoed and faded. Wind stirred the Chinese banyan, its curtain shadow a giant grasping hand. I tried desperately to sleep, but whenever I drifted off, Dad's double entered the empty room and dissolved like vapor. Xiaoshuang finally whispered, "Sis, what was it?" I stared at the ceiling, unable to answer. "If you'd followed it in, and the door had closed—" "Stop," I interrupted. She did, but we knew the question. If I'd entered step for step without pausing, what would have happened? Would I still be here? I've no answer even now. Life resumed. Our parents never raised it again. We rarely told outsiders. Yet that afternoon crouched in a corner. Going to the bathroom at midnight, hearing hall footsteps while home alone, or opening the wardrobe, I paused until my heart slowed before looking. Strangely, time peeled back the terror, revealing fear mixed with excitement. You hear ghost stories in dorms or late-night QQ groups, never expecting one to happen to you. Seen and heard firsthand, it becomes a secret experience nobody can take. Xiaoshuang felt it too. That summer, we recorded everything in a hardback notebook. Dad's shirt, a faded dark blue t-shirt, one shoulder hanger marked. On the cabinet, as I later checked, an unopened Hongtashan pack and a blue plastic lighter. First foot, after long debate, left, because Mum once said our whole family crossed thresholds left foot first. We wrote every detail, however faint. We feared that in 10 or 20 years, after growing up, moving, and building separate lives, we might wonder, did it happen? Or did 2 14-year-old girls share an impossibly vivid daydream that sweltering afternoon? The notebook stays in my old Chongqing home's cabinet among textbooks and graduation photos, its pale blue corners rubbed white. Each new year I reread the yellow, sour-smelling pages. The blue-black ballpoint ink is bleeding, yet I remember every word. Last spring festival I returned to Chongqing. Xiaoshuang, married and settled in Chengdu, drove home with her nearly 2-year-old child, pale, chubby, wearing her childhood smile. Our parents again cooked beneath the same roaring hood. A Spring Festival gala rerun, and singing filled the lively room. Her child crawled on the floor. Afu. No, Afu was long gone. A grey British Shorthair now lounged on the sofa arm like his copy. Side by side, we half-watched TV and chatted about work and children. Then Xiao Shuang went quiet and looked at me. Sis, do you remember that day? Eyes on the TV, I said. Yes. A crosstalk comedian's punchline drew studio laughter. She spoke softly but clearly, as if pulling long hidden words from her chest. Sometimes I wonder whether the dad who came out of the kitchen that day was the real dad, or merely the one we assumed was. I turned. She wasn't smiling. She looked like the bluish pale girl at the computer 20 years before. I'd no reply. The TV played. The hood roared. Sunlight cut a slanting rectangle on the floor. Dad emerged with steaming twice-cooked pork, its garlic shoot and chili bean paste scent unchanged in 20 years. Wearing a grey t-shirt and slippers, he passed the TV cabinet and set down his cigarettes. Movement,